Welcome to US Briefing. A powerful senator, his consultant wife and kilos of gold, the Egyptian bribery scandal that's hit US Congress. ABC. US Senator Bob Menendez and his wife Nadine have been charged with accepting bribes in exchange for providing sensitive information to benefit the Egyptian government. Court documents accuse the couple of accepting the bribes from three businessmen in exchange for using his position to protect and enrich them. FBI agents found hundreds of thousands of dollars in cash, gold bars, and luxury items when they searched their New Jersey home in June 2022. The couple denies any wrongdoing. Prosecutors allege that Menendez hosted a meeting in his Washington office with Egyptian military officials and one of the businessmen, Wael Hanna. They also claim that Menendez and Hanna arranged another meeting, after which Menendez requested sensitive but unclassified information from the U.S. State Department and texted it to Nadine Menendez, who then forwarded it to Hanna. The charges against Menendez and his wife include conspiracy to commit bribery, conspiracy to commit honest services fraud, and conspiracy to commit extortion. If convicted, the couple could face up to 20 years in prison for each count. Menendez has temporarily stepped down from his position as chairman of the Senate's Foreign Relations Committee. China market Gloom Spurs fund managers to scour hidden gems. Bloomberg. Some funds are looking for value in the Chinese stock market, which has been the worst performer in the world over the past 3 years. The extreme pessimism towards Chinese assets, driven by an economic slowdown, government crackdowns, and property woes, has created opportunities for contrarian investors. Funds are focusing on specific sectors such as local shares, healthcare, pharmaceuticals, and technology. They believe that there are undervalued companies with strong cash flows, robust drug pipelines, and potential for future growth. Despite the ongoing sell-off, these investors see the potential for a rebound and are betting on pockets of value in the Chinese market. Sean Doolittle, the reliever who endeared himself to Nats fans, retires. Washington Post. Washington Nationals reliever Sean Doolittle has announced his retirement from baseball. Injuries curtailed his 11-year career and, despite undergoing surgery last year and this year in a bid to recover from an elbow injury, he has been forced to retire. The 36-year-old left-hander, who played an integral role in the Nationals' 2019 World Series winning season, said, "I did everything that I could, and I enjoyed it." Doolittle, who has been an outspoken advocate for gun control and LGBTQ+ issues, has said he would love to give back to baseball in some capacity in the future. Geeta Mehta, literary chronicler of modern India, dies at 80. Washington Post. Geeta Mehta, an Indian author, has died at the age of 80. Mehta wrote novels and non-fiction books that subverted Western stereotypes of India. Her works explored Indian history, culture, and contradictions. Her debut book, Karma Cola, Marketing the Mystic East, was a scathing critique of Westerners who traveled to India in search of spiritual enlightenment. Mehta's acid tone and colorful reporting earned her comparisons to American new journalism writers like Tom Wolfe. She later turned to fiction, with books such as Raj and A River Sutra. Mehta's love of literature began in her childhood, surrounded by booksellers in Delhi. She was the daughter of an Indian aviator and freedom fighter, and her husband, Sunny Mehta, was editor-in-chief of publishing house Alfred A. Knopf. Geeta Mehta died at her home in Delhi from complications of a stroke. U.S. Senate chairman steps down amid bribery charges. BBC. Senator Robert Menendez has temporarily stepped down as head of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee as he faces bribery charges. The U.S. Justice Department alleges that Menendez and his wife accepted hundreds of thousands of dollars in bribes to aid the Egyptian government. Menendez has denied the charges, while his wife has also denied any wrongdoing. Menendez previously stepped down from the same committee in 2015 after being indicted on charges of accepting bribes from a Florida eye doctor, but the case ended in a mistrial. Calls for Menendez's resignation are growing, including from New Jersey's Democratic Governor Phil Murphy. In appeal to House of Commons, Zelensky invokes Canada's Ukrainian diaspora. The Globe and Mail. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has called on the world to help his country in its fight against Russia, describing Moscow's actions in Ukraine as genocide. Speaking in Ottawa, Zelensky said that Russia is intent on controlling Ukraine and is using all means at its disposal, including genocide, to achieve this. He also warned that millions of people were at risk, and urged the global community to provide more assistance. Zelensky has been keen to forge close ties with other nations since his election last year. At the weekend, he addressed the UN, criticizing the organization for its lack of action over the war in Ukraine. He also addressed the British Parliament in February and the US Congress last year. Canada has pledged $650 million in additional aid following Zelensky's visit. The country is home to 1.4 million Ukrainians, the biggest Ukrainian diaspora outside Russia. US, Biden announces Gun Violence Prevention Office. Deutsche Welle. US President Joe Biden has announced the creation of a new office to tackle gun violence, which will be led by Vice President Kamala Harris. The office will focus on finding solutions and supporting communities affected by shootings. Biden and Harris both emphasized the need for action after every mass shooting and described gun violence as a major issue in the U.S. The office's launch is unlikely to have a significant impact, as the White House does not have the power to unilaterally limit gun use. However, Biden's campaign is hoping that efforts to enforce gun control could attract younger voters in the 2024 election. Egypt, gold bars and $15,000 in a parking lot, the sprawling allegations of corruption facing Robert Menendez. The Independent. A U.S. Senator, Robert Menendez, has been indicted on corruption and bribery charges. He has stepped down as chair of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee until the matter is resolved, according to Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. The indictment also charges the senator's wife, Nadine Menendez, and 3 New Jersey businessmen and associates. The indictment alleges that Menendez and his wife participated in a bribery scheme, receiving cash, gold bars, a Mercedes-Benz convertible, and other gifts in exchange for political favors. The senator is accused of sharing sensitive U.S. government information with an Egyptian-American businessman and covertly writing a letter on behalf of the Egyptian government. Menendez allegedly interfered with a criminal investigation involving one of the businessmen and arranged the sale of a Mercedes-Benz convertible to his wife. The senator is also accused of interfering with a pending federal case involving one of the co-defendants. Menendez has denied the charges and accused prosecutors of attempting to smear him with a baseless smear campaign. Vikings have familiar playbook, backfield role for Akers, still committed to Madison. The Toronto Star. Running back Cam Akers has joined the Minnesota Vikings after being traded by the Los Angeles Rams, and his transition has been smooth due to his familiarity with Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell, who was his offensive coordinator during his first 2 seasons with the Rams. Akers said that 90% of the playbook carried over from LA, and he hopes to contribute to the Vikings offense. While Akers will be on the inactive list for the Vikings' upcoming game against the Los Angeles Chargers, there may soon be an opportunity for him to play given the Vikings' struggling run game. Netanyahu says Israel is getting closer to quantum leap normalization deal with Saudi Arabia. CNN. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has said that it is likely Israel will reach a normalization agreement with Saudi Arabia. The potential pact would mark a seismic foreign policy shift for both countries and would be mediated by the U.S. Netanyahu called the agreement a quantum leap that would change the Middle East forever by creating a corridor of energy pipelines, rail lines, and fiber optic cables between Asia through Saudi Arabia, Jordan, Israel, and the United Arab Emirates. The deal has the potential to enhance Israel's acceptance in the Muslim world, particularly considering Saudi Arabia's role as the custodian of Islam's holiest sites. Saudi Arabia's Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman said a normalization pact with Israel would be the biggest historical deal since the Cold War. Sudan's army chief says he favors negotiated settlement to war. Reuters. Sudan's army chief, General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, has stated that he did not seek military support on a recent regional tour. His preference is for a peaceful solution to the conflict that has killed thousands and displaced millions of civilians. He has asked neighboring states to stop sending mercenaries in support of the Paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, RSF. War between the army and the RSF broke out in mid-April over plans for a political transition and the integration of the RSF into the army. Burhan believes that stalled talks by Saudi Arabia and the United States in Jeddah could still succeed. He has made a series of foreign visits in recent weeks after remaining in Sudan for the first months of the war. The purpose was to seek solutions, not military support. Long-haul holiday costs fall for UK visitors. Financial Times. British travellers can expect cheaper long-haul holidays due to a surge in sterling against currencies in popular destinations. A report from the Post Office found that tourists will pay less in 23 out of 26 destinations compared to a year ago. The report ranked Hoi An, Vietnam as the top value destination, followed by Mombasa Beach in Kenya and Cape Town in South Africa. East Asia was found to offer the best value, with 5 out of the top 10 spots. The rankings were based on the cost of items tourists might buy on the spot, excluding hotel and flight costs. From Schindler's List to Plain Movie Guy, what happened to Liam Neeson? The Sydney Morning Herald. Liam Neeson has become known for his roles in a genre referred to as plain movies, which are perfect for watching on long-haul flights. These movies are designed to be easily digestible, with simple plots and action-packed scenes. Neeson's latest film, Retribution, follows this pattern, with him playing a Berlin bank executive who receives a phone call warning that his car is rigged with bombs. These types of films provide entertainment and distraction for passengers while flying. Neeson has become a reliable presence in this genre, often playing a rugged hero with a gruff American-Irish accent. Mexican president wants to meet with Biden in Washington on migration, drug trafficking. Associated Press. Mexican President Andrés Manuel López Obrador plans to travel to Washington, D.C. in early November to meet with U.S. President Joe Biden to discuss immigration, development aid, and drug trafficking. The announcement comes amid a surge in migrants crossing through Mexico, which has led to the closure of some U.S.-Mexico border crossings and the suspension of train runs by Mexico's largest railway company. Many of the migrants are believed to be Venezuelans who have crossed through the Darien Gap. Mexico's top diplomat, Alicia Bárcena, expressed concern about the migrant surge and the closure of the border, particularly given Mexico's strained relationship with Texas Governor Greg Abbott. Bárcena suggested that efforts should be made to address the flow of migrants through the Darien Gap and called for the lifting of U.S. economic sanctions against Venezuela. There are also signs that Mexico is struggling to cope with the influx of migrants. Bárcena noted that about 140,000 migrants are waiting to register for transit or asylum papers in Tapachula, near the Guatemalan border, and said that more resources are needed to process such a large number of people. In addition, residents living near an overcrowded migrant shelter in Mexico City briefly blocked traffic, complaining that migrants living on the streets outside the shelter were causing problems. 3 arrests made in boys shooting death that sparked New Mexico governor's aggressive guns ban. The Toronto Star. 3 men have been arrested in connection with a shooting outside an Albuquerque baseball stadium in the U.S. last week, which killed an 11-year-old boy. 2 of the men, Jose Romero and Nathan Garley, were in custody and known to be gang members when they were linked to the incident. Police said the men had mistakenly opened fire on a truck carrying Froilan Villegas and his family as it was leaving the parking lot because it closely resembled the truck of the intended targets. Thank you for tuning in. The content above showcases the latest briefing reports and analytical synopses, thoughtfully curated by the 6Do team. These insights stem from a wide array of reputable media outlets, think tanks, government sources, and specialized experts worldwide. We encourage you to explore these sources for a comprehensive perspective. Keep in mind that while the content may not always align with the official standpoint of 6Do Brief, it's not meant to be taken as absolute directives for decision-making. Comprising seasoned media professionals, learned scholars, and accomplished scientists, the 6Do team embodies a trailblazing, fully independent media entity. To customize 6Do Brief to meet your professional needs, you have the option to subscribe to a diverse array of briefings on our website, 6dobrief.com. Regardless of your location, you can conveniently receive 6Do Brief via email.